a degree. However, she did work all of her life, just like my dad did. Both sides had a very, very strong work ethic. You worked until pretty much you can't anymore. And with her side, it was very much, you don't show emotion. You absolutely don't show emotion at all. You don't go to the doctor unless you are pretty much on your deathbed. And so it was a very hard life. And she definitely showed that with her kids. With my mom was the middle of 6. And so she had 2 sisters and 3 brothers. So with my mom, my grandmother didn't really show her emotion at all. And she was like that with most of her kids. And so when she showed you she loved you, it was in different ways. Like she would cook your favorite meal or something like that. She wouldn't really come out and actually say it. And with these type of people, the type of people that my grandmother came from, they're the nicest people when it comes to strangers. They will give you the shirt off their back, and especially to your face. They are very sweet. But when it comes to behind your back, you kind of got to watch out there. My grandmother was famous for it. She would be on the phone with someone, and she would say the equivalent of, of showing empathy. And the way that most country people do that is by saying, well, bless your heart. And that was her famous saying, was bless your little heart. And that's what she would say to your face. And as soon as she got off the phone, she would probably rival some of you in language. I grew up in that kind of house, too, where nothing was ever censored. And my grandmother was the worst for it. She would go off, and believe me, when I say that she's probably forgotten more curse words than we actually know. So that's pretty much her family, though. I mean, her family was very much like that. And like I said, they were very, very sweet in the fact that they would help you out when you needed it. They were always there for you if you needed a helping hand. So they would do that for you. But when it came to showing emotion, when it came to actually showing that they cared, it would be a little tough to get that from them. They were very strong people. My mom, and actually this is my mom and I on the right of the screen, so we're both standing there. So I just thought that I would show my mom, since you got a little picture of my dad as well. And my mom is very much that same work ethic. She has that you do not say that you're hurting. You have to work pretty much until you can't work anymore. And she very, very rarely calls out of work. So that's kind of that work mentality that I've got as well. This is my entire mom's side of the family. My grandmother's in the middle. She's holding one of my cousins. I'm over here on the left and the very front. And that's all of my aunts and my uncles. And so that's, and some wives and some other people in there as well, but that's my mom's side of the family. I wanted to show you that. And I really wanted to go over how that goes into my traditions and it goes into my culture and me dealing with the multiracial part of it. Both sides really were into family. They really wanted to surround themselves with family, even though with my mom's side of the family, they couldn't really say I love you. They couldn't really show that emotion. One of the ways they did that was with food. And as you can see in these pictures, when we got around for holidays, I mean, we really did it right. We had so many dishes there. My grandmother was normally the one that fixed all of this. And my father could cook and cook very well, but he was used to cooking for a small amount of people. So when he did fix food, it was enough for maybe 2 or 3 people. When my grandmother fixed food, it was for an army. So that's what she would do. And you can see on there it was homemade potato salad, homemade stuffing, 2 or 3 kinds, homemade mashed potatoes, rolls. You name it, it was there. Desserts, there was about 15 different kinds of pies, 2 or 3 3-layer cakes. I mean, you name it, we had it. And that was our holidays, our Christmas, our Easter, our Thanksgiving. All of that was mainly to get the family surrounded around that table and just have that time with each other. And as you can see on the left with Christmas, they didn't really skimp on presents. We didn't get much through the year. We, both sides of the family, were not well off. Some in my dad's side of the family actually went on to own hotels and things like that. But with my dad being a mechanic because he owned his own body shop, he had a steady flow of business, but it wasn't a huge business. So we grew up not well off, but what we did get, we appreciated. And when it came to Christmas time, they pretty much spent what they had making sure that everybody in the family got something, and especially the kids. My cousins, myself, I have a half-brother as well. We would get all kinds of presents for Christmas, and we kept them, and we made sure that they were in good shape. Because you see so many with who have the means to get gifts, and they pretty much don't take care of them. We knew better. We took care of them, and we were taught at a very young age to make sure that we took care of our stuff because we never knew when we were going to get something else. So that was instilled in us as well. I can remember Christmases and Easters and Thanksgivings and all of the family around, and with Christmas it was very fun because we would wait for Santa Claus because we believed very much in Santa, and they wouldn't put the gifts out until that night. And you could see me sitting on the present there. That was actually Christmas morning. So they wouldn't actually put the presents out until that night. And the Christmas tree stayed up until after New Year's. So it was that time of year that still, even as an adult, I love Christmas time because of when I was a kid. And so those traditions are very much alive still. Now, getting into the multiracial part of it, growing up in rural West Virginia, there wasn't a whole lot of African Americans around. I went to school with mainly Caucasians. Out of 2,300 in my senior year, and it's not just in my senior class, but 2,300 kids total in my high school, there were 5 African Americans, 10 Asian Americans, and the rest were Caucasian. So I grew up very much surrounded by Caucasians. However, I also had my dad there, who was definitely instilled in me the traditions of his side of the family, and he was definitely into religion, definitely into family, just like his people were. So that came across, and that was instilled in me at a very young age. I grew up with Bible stories. I grew up with all of that. He didn't really force his beliefs. He actually let us kind of make up our own mind. So he was very much into that, but I definitely grew up with the stories. I grew up with that. And with my mom's side of the family, it was, they were religious, but they weren't really forceful with it, like my dad was. He was definitely, we couldn't play cards on Sundays. We couldn't work on Sundays. No work was done on Sundays at all because it was a day of rest. The town was like that as well. All of the mom and pop stores were closed on Sundays. Most of the businesses in Huntington would close on Sundays. So that was part of the community and part of the culture, is that you do not work on Sundays. It's changed since then. But when I was growing up, that was very much the belief, is that you do not work on Sundays. And so that was part of it. So I grew up with that kind of small town mentality as well. Again, that's the reason I said I was going to bring that up, because I can't talk about my culture without talking about being from rural West Virginia. It's very much a part of who I am. As you notice, I don't really speak with too much of an accent. At least I don't think I do. I think that actually comes from my dad, because my mom had an accent. My teachers had accents. My fellow students, my classmates had accents. My entire mom's side of the family had accents. But the reason I say it comes from my dad is because of his work mentality. What little accent that he had was gone when he spoke to customers. So when he would meet anybody, and it was especially new customers when he was trying to get their business, that accent was gone. When he spoke on the phone, it was perfect English. And I remember hearing that as a kid. And he would take me with him on business trips because I was very quiet and very reserved. And he would take me with him. And so I would get to see him with the customers. And he would dress pretty much in coat and tie. Even though he was a mechanic, this was part of his culture. He wanted to present himself like a businessman. He wanted to show the customers that he was respectable, that they could count on him to do the work that needed to be done. And that was instilled in him from his mom, from his mom's mom, from his father, all the way back, is that family, and especially because